Good day, my name is Ashade Helen, and today I and my group members are going to be talking about designing and delivering both in-person and online presentation. What is a presentation? Well, it is the act of transferring information from the speaker to the audience. It can be quite challenging for some people because it means putting yourself on the spotlight. However, designing and delivering effective in-person and online presentations is possible. It is a skill that can be honed. As such, I would like to now invite one of my group members to discuss on that. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Kizito and I'm here to discuss about delivering and designing in-person presentation. To design a successful presentation, you need guidelines and steps to make your presentation more comprehensible. And the first step is to identify and state the purpose of the presentation. And this is being able to clearly know the goals of the presentation. That is knowing what you are trying to achieve. The second step is outlining major sections. This part comes where you break down your presentation into segments or sections from one part to another. The third step is to draft your content. That is filling it with details about concerning what you're trying to say, what you actually have to say about the presentation. Step 4 is writing your presentation notes. And in this part, you need to know the key ideas, the information, and you have to list it or make it in notes to list them out, knowing what to say. Step 5 is designing supporting visuals. Okay, this is where you consider the type of visuals that can help you pass that information to your audience. And okay, in summary to all those steps, a successful presentation must be clearly organized. You must be able to guide your audience from one idea to another. You should also know how to get your audience to get the best information from your presentation. And also your presentation should have a stated purpose and focus. Thank you. Okay, now I would like to hand over the presentation context to Usman to discuss further.
Then developing a strong presentation style. Since presentation are delivered to the audience live, review and revise, it is a verbal and visual presentation, not as a piece of writing. More importantly, you are better able to reach your audience if you are able to look up from your notes and read it out to them. This will take practice. The characteristics of strong presentation style. When it comes to time to practice delivery, think about what has made presentation and presenter more or less effective in your past experience in the audience. Then, number one, one point to make a good presentation. Firstly, one of the keys of an effective presentation is to keep your audience focused on what matters and avoid distracting them and losing their attention. Then, as a presenter, you also bring your own energy and show the audience that you are interested in the company. Then, verbal communication should be clear and easy to listen to. Then, your volume of your voice must be appropriate for the room and make sure everyone can hear easily, but avoid yelling or straining your voice. Then, space. Don't rush. Many people speak quickly when they are nervous. Then remind yourself to speak clearly and deliberately with reasonable pauses between your phrases and adjectives. Dynamics and tone. Speak with a natural rise and fall in your voice. Filler words. Limit the word filler words in your speech, e.g., like so it isn't. These are words that can creep and take up spaces. Non-verbal. Location. Position yourself where audience can see you, but do not block the view of the visuals. Eye contact. Maintain eye contact with your audience. Posture. Stand comfortable. Do not lean or on the wall or podium. Gesture. Use natural and conventional gesture and avoid nervous fidgeting. E.g., pulling at clothes, touching your hair, etc. Thank you. I would like to hand over to Nifemi to present furthermore.
Developing strong group presentation. Group presentation comes with unique challenges. You might be a confident presenter individually, but as a group you are dealing with different presentation styles and level of comfort. So there are some techniques and things to be considered to help group work together. So the first thing there is your transition and your handing off. Handing off is an important thing. It's when a new member wants to take over, you have to make it not look awkward so that you don't distract the audience. Number 2 is the table reading. This is mostly done by the actors. Where you read casually on what you're going to say on the day of the presentation. And number 3 is your body language. Even though you're not even presenting at the moment or you're not speaking, your non-verbal communication cues is also looked at. So you don't need to block the visuals, and you have to stay alert and interested on what the person is talking about. Another thing in designing and developing an online presentation is your presentation visuals. This is the handout, the slides, the props, the videos that help the presenter enforce important information by giving the audience a way to see and a way to hear the message. So that is that on visual presentation. Now moving to designing and delivering online presentation. After the COVID, a lot of things has changed. People have advanced. They've seen that there's something called online space where they can do so many things. So now educators and business people have now started delivering presentation remotely from their comfort zone through webinars. Such webinars are, we have the Google Meeting, the Zoom, the Web Ninja, the Microsoft Team, and so on and so forth. So there are other ways we can able to leverage on such benefits. There are strategies needed. There are many communication systems or webinar tools on the market to name. We have the demo, the webinar, the go-to webinars, the WebEx, Click Meeting, Zoom, Google Meeting, and Microsoft Office. You may use any of these. However, if you want to deliver an effective webinar, the following tips will help you deliver an effective and catchy webinar. So another thing there is the when and where. You should gather information about the arrangement of the webinar, including the date, the time of the broadcast, the project duration, inclusive of the time of the question and session, and the composition of the audience. It helps to determine beforehand whether the webinar will be accompanied with a live video that will allow participation to watch you speak. Determine whether the webinar will be recorded and be archived for view, or if the presentation will be physical, they're in the same room. Now I'll be handing over to my group mates today.
Point 4, put your leg in one's shoe. To gain first-hand insights on formats and what it feels like of an audience member, you should take part in an actual webinar, which means it will bring you an idea to how an audience and the actual webinar is being run. So it will be an idea to attend a webinar that is more similar presentation as yours. Learn about how screen is laid out and how the information is presented and shared within the people. So after this, you have to figure out your own preference and plan the necessary changes to the organizers. So play around with interactive tools for the webinar, including polling questions, breakout rooms, and discussion area. Study their impact on how it is going to lead and give you effective audience engagement, and how you can utilize them to prompt greater audience engagement in the webinar. Now to point 5, crystal clear and beaconing. What does this mean? It means to ensure your presentation slide is clear and fetching, use large formats, well-designed and organized image. This is particularly important for webinars because the slides are the only thing that the participants will be able to see. Some participants may be using mobile phones, which is small screen. Hence, the webinar slides must be able to convey the presented information, and the slide design template should be consistent, simple throughout the presentation without the use of discarded patterns, background, or colors. At the end of the presentation, provide a summary of all the key points in the slides. The slide must be first to be proofread for spelling and grammatical mistakes. After you have done so, ask other people to proofread them again. Reading the slide out loud can facilitate proofreading process, which is going to make the audience more eligible to read and understand the slide very well. Now I'm handing over to my co-group member, which is Tofumi. Thank you.
My point is, do your homework. Use the webinar platform to practice your presentation several times while presenting. Time yourself and ensure you do not exceed the assigned time. Remember the time needed for the organizer to introduce you. Consider the materials you can delete if you end up running low. colleagues to listen to your presentation and use the webinar platform to do so if possible. Many webinar presenters tend to stand up when presenting because this can enhance spirit and excitement. You may experiment with various presenting styles such as standing, sitting, or using hand gestures, and the rate of effectiveness of each type by asking the feedback from colleagues. However, bear in mind of any technological problems that could arise when practicing, and take your time with the webinar organizer to discuss about the issues and how to tackle them. Number 7, be tech savvy at early bed. Before the presentation begins, get familiar with the webinar platform, such as learning how to move the slides forward and backward, answering the questions in the chat box, and using interactive features of the platform. Make clear of the positions of the organizer needs to perform. This includes posting slides and handouts, setting up the forum of the webinar, and moderating the chat box. You can use your phone to check the quality of the webinar audio in general meeting. The usage of headsets or headsets connected to landline is preferred rather than a speaker phone or cell phone. If technical problem occur, it is necessary to establish a backup plan with webinar organizer. Account for various circumstances like when there is power outage or when the phone lines are dead. Find out if there is a webinar checklist for planning, which outlines the roles and responsibility of each individual. Depending on the issue, this planning will enable you to identify the most suitable person to refer to. Create a system to communicate individually with the presenter during the webinar to ensure that the technology is functioning properly and to address issues that may transpire in case your computer or webinar platform or internet connection is not working. It is always an idea to bring a copy of your slide and handout. Any computer programs that could keep you distracted, such as email notifications, should be closed during your presentation. Place a busy or do not disturb note on your door and keep a glass of water clock near you. The screen should be placed at eye level and make ergonomic change to maintain a comfortable position for your head and neck. If there are any external website that you'd like to participate to enter during the presentation, the link can be pasted in the discussion box. It is always good to smile and be enthusiastic about the presentation while running. And I'll be handing over to my next colleague, Tiwa.
8, do not let them sleep. Make sure your presentation is interesting. Don't let your presentation be boring. Ask knowledge-based questions to assess the knowledge they have gotten from your presentation. 9, check if they learn from you. Feedback can be gotten in various ways, which includes post-webinar survey, conversations with colleagues, reviews from participants, and personal evaluation. As a presenter, you can ask the organizer for a copy of the comments in the discussion box that the participants submit. Also encourage the organizers to distribute feedback survey that participants submit immediately after the webinar instead of waiting months or weeks and delaying it. This will enhance participants' information retention and possibly increase participation rates. As a presenter, you may take time to evaluate yourself on how you handle the presentation and how well you can handle the presentation in the future. You can also carry out surveys months or weeks following the presentation to see if participants have carried out the research, like they have taken the research into action. In conclusion, no human is perfect. So the act of effectively designing and delivering in-person and online presentation is an ongoing process. However, if the reader takes action and implements the above highlighted tips, they will be able to deliver excellent quality webinars. Thank you.